What are your thoughts about selflessness in relation to you hosting travelers?
That's a very good question. And that's something I've had to think through. Okay, it's my selfishness that doesn't want to have people here. I think he enjoys it a lot more than I do because I tend to be, I like my time, or I like it to come home and just be quiet and not be involved, especially when I was working at Starbucks or always with people all day, and then you come home and there's somebody sitting that's ready to talk. And so I had to just remind myself, is it my selfishness that doesn't want to have some folks here? And I know a lot of families, when they even hear about what we do, they're just like, oh, I could never do that. Because I don't want somebody in my home, or I don't want somebody in my kitchen, or whatever. And it does pose challenges, but then I have to stop and say, but it's a good thing. I think we cocoon too much in this day and age, we cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes we just need to force ourselves to come out and be part of community.
I was living here for, a decent amount of time when I first moved back, and I kind of started out with like, yeah, we're gonna hang out and do all this stuff together, and I want to, include them. And there were ones, like I said, that were easy, and then there were definitely times when like situations were taken advantage of, and people were not grateful for the inclusion in things, or I would drive out here to pick somebody up, or drive them into town when I didn't need to go into town, stuff like that. So I definitely experienced like some burnout with the workaways, I think. Like, I'm not sure that some selfishness isn't healthy at times. You do need to look out for yourself, and especially in your own home, when you do need your time by yourself, or you need to come home and feel like you can rest in your place. But it definitely, for me, highlighted some of my unhealthy selfishness and points where I could grow in that and be more selfless about things. But it's hard. It's really hard. Harder for you guys, but at times for me, because I was the younger person living at the house. It was like kind of expected at times to include them in things. So like,
yeah, okay, Kate, they're going to hang out with you. Yeah. You and your friends go do something.
Right.
Because they were the same age group.
Right. So. And with some it was fun, with others I was like, you're actually a jerk, and I don't want you to hang out with us. There was one guy who I just like couldn't believe his entitlement and just ungratefulness, and not willing to help me out with things when I was like just crazy to me. Just
a lot of that was cultural too.
Well, yeah, totally. So I guess it's a learning experience on both ends for people.
Even with the ones who have been ungrateful, it's still been a great learning experience. If you back up and you sort of look at what your whole sphere of things, you're going, I'm sorry for that person, and not that I feel sorry for them, but I'm just sorry for the way they behaved. But that's not going to change who I am or what we're doing.
Well, and I think too, when we've had those, I have to just stop and go, okay, just treat them as if they were my children. Just love them unconditionally, and
I think these two have given a very, very wonderful example of selflessness. Growing up in the church, if new people came to the church, they would sick us on them. Like, it was like the pastor's kid's duty to like go and talk to those kids and like include those kids. And that's, I think that's pretty much carried over to our adult years. All of us have this kind of a soft heart for newcomers and, people that are, not kind of loners, whatever. And I think that comes from these guys just taking in people and, being selfless.
What is your biggest complaint about the average or typical American lifestyle?
Materialism, I think. Always needing more. I get fed up with fashions. Every season they come out, it changes so that you have to you want to buy new stuff. You're always wanting more. And we get this, we start thinking about something that we want, lusting after a new car, a new dog, a new whatever, and then we come consumed with it until we get it, and then we get it, and then we're like, oh, okay, so you move on to the next thing.
I think going along with that, the thing that sort of breaks my heart that I watch go on way too much is just selfishness. People are just all about how they can satisfy their own cravings, their own desires, their own what they think is right for them, and that's real self-defeating long term. It's very it alienates a person, and they become lonely. America's struggling with huge issues of loneliness, and I think a lot of that comes from selfishness.
Yeah, I think in my most recent travels, just going and living out of a backpack, and you have this very simple thing you just worry about your day. Like, that's all. It's just like today. And then coming back to the United States, and there's just so many things that you're worrying about and thinking about, and you're just overwhelmed. I mean, it does go back to the minimalist thing. Like, we just have so much stuff, and we have so many options and so many things, and it's just overwhelming. And
Excuse me.
People are just completely unaware of even there being another option. I mean, we're like, America's just everything's so easy and so accessible. We don't even know that there are other ways of living. Yeah, I just started thinking about how much is shoved down our throats and we don't even know it when we're watching TV. Like, all these things we don't need, that there's telling us that we need, that somebody decided that we don't know and we don't care about.
Somebody who wants to make more money.
It's just money. And yeah, I don't want my kids to watch TV. It's like, but anyways, watching TV for me too is, I get anxiety. I watch it and I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't, and I don't watch it anymore because of that. Just how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to dress, what we're supposed to wear, what we're supposed to eat. It's just bleh.
I think, I don't know if this is my biggest one, but lately, I've been thinking a lot about just how apathetic it seems like our culture is. The American lifestyle seems to be breeding apathetic people. It's like we're people who are letting life just wash over us, and we're not engaging. I think that looks like people who are dependent on other people, or who are dependent on the government, or who are dependent on social media, to me it seems like it's like an apathy that takes on this dependence of other people. It seems to me more of like a dependency on everything outside of ourselves to give us value or to give us meaning. It just seems lazy and destructive. I think it seems like it's breeding a culture that is easily manipulated and easily controlled, but also it seems like it's breeding people who are unhappy and who don't have any fulfillment in their lives, don't find any fulfillment in their lives. So we hate our jobs, we hate the way we look, we hate our families, we hate we're just mad at everything around us without ever actually maybe just looking in the mirror and thinking, maybe this has something to do with me.
What do you love most about America?
Without question, we're the freest country in the world. I've traveled extensively and probably been in 40-something nations, and we have great freedoms, even though I would say right now our government is whittling away at our freedoms fairly quickly. But I love the fact that I can make choices for myself, that I can determine my future for myself, that I can work for myself and my family. When I say that, no one's going to lock me up because of what I believe or what I say. And I hold that with great privilege or great joy, because we have that. And I've been in many countries where you don't have that. People want to come to America from all over the world because here's the place. It's still the land of opportunity.
America is often spotlighted and sought after, but also people don't like America, so there are times when I would find myself in my travels, being embarrassed that I was from America. but I would say that I missed it a lot when I was gone. I think just the general convenience. I mean, we get to go and put gas in our cars. We get to drink clean water. We get to walk through parks that people mow the lawns of, you know, like we get to water our lawns. Like that's insane. So I think just like we're blessed. We're so blessed. And that's coming from a privileged person. You know, I've never really lived in an impoverished lifestyle.
After I did some traveling, I came back here, I think, just more thankful for such a diverse place, such a diverse country in terms of race, but then also in terms of ideas and beliefs. And so I'm grateful for I both love and hate the fact that there's so much arguing and just variation in terms of ideas and lifestyles and all this. I mean, there's just so many different pieces of the American puzzle, and I think that's good. I mean, as a human, I think it's good that we be around difference, and I think all of us approach the world differently. And
That's how we make progress.
yeah, and I think it's how we grow. If we allow ourselves to, I think we can become better people by interacting with difference. And it doesn't always mean we have to agree. I don't believe that necessarily, but I do believe it's good when we discuss and conversate and try to understand and empathize with other people. I think is really important. And I do think that I think at its core, America was founded so that we could have the freedom to do that.
What are your thoughts on the 50-year plan?
I think it's awesome. I mean, I really think it's a very commendable, thing for you to want to do it. I mean, at one point, I'm thinking, wow, I would love to just have only the stuff I have in my car. Just not have so much stuff, because at times I wish we didn't have so much stuff. But then I laugh when I think, I wonder though if a woman's going to come into your life that's going to change it a little bit. I don't know.
It always has to do with a woman or a man.
Well, those things happen.
I like your idealism. I think it's commendable in that respect. I also, with my wife, would wonder if a woman doesn't come along and maybe either she shares your joy and can do some of it, or your plan may change a little bit to accommodate. And that wouldn't be a loss, that would be a gain.
I think you and I have discussed this a little bit with my, the past, I've been in Helena for the past 3 years, but before that I had a decent amount of time kind of all over the place. Not a lot, but more than most people that I know. And one of the things that I mentioned was your community. And I think that there's something to be said about, putting your roots down. And I don't in any way look down on what you're doing. I think that's awesome. I think from my own experience, I kind of just questioned, like, do I want to have a community? Like, do I want to have this support system, this close network of people that support me and hold me accountable and know my ins and outs? And so, that's obviously something that you can accomplish at a distance, but it's hard to maintain those friendships. One of the things that's been so hard for me in this last year even is just, I want to see all my friends. As I mentioned to you, I want to see all my people, and they're so spread out, and I can't afford to do it. And it breaks my heart as I feel like some of those relationships slip away. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, that would be the hardest part for me, because I would love to do what you're doing. Like, I would love to do that. But then I also have found some fulfillment that I didn't have before in being in a place for a significant amount of time, or longer than, 6 months to a year. But other than that, I'm just really jealous of you.
If I'm being honest with you, I think that your 50-year plan is cool, and I'm attracted to the idea in terms of just you're going to get to experience so much, which I think is awesome. My fear for you, I think, would be that it would that you'll always be living for the next place, and that it could be hard for you to experience the aspects of life that only come with, I don't know if I want to say stability, but in some level stability in relationships mainly is probably what I'm talking about. In my own experience, I can find myself fantasizing about what's next all the time, and that keeps me from being in the present and in the moment, and that can breed discontentment in my own heart. I think especially relationally, I believe that one of the important aspects of being a human is having deep relationships with other humans.
Mm-hmm.
And so my fear would be that you wouldn't have that, that connection. So in terms of the 50-year plan, I would hope that you would build relationships during that time that you would maintain and grow in, and not just leave behind at the last
Right.
place. I'm impressed actually in a lot of ways about how you're doing traveling, because it doesn't seem, I think on your website I read that you wanted it to be a selfless thing, and as far as I've seen, it seems like you are here to like serve my parents and work with them, and that's cool to see, because I think a lot of people, especially like, well, yeah, it just seems like a lot of people right now have this mindset about travel that becomes really selfish and really self-involved.
Mhm.
And it's just about them. It's just always about seeing the next place. And, in some ways, it's like it's always about just Instagramming or Facebooking a new picture of the coolest place,
Right.
of the cutest coffee shop or the prettiest mountain or whatever. And it seems to me that's like, once again, not what real travel should be about. If you're only ever seeing yourself, then I'd be afraid you would never see anywhere else. And that seems futile, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I commend you on that. It seems like you're actually doing it in a way that might allow you to see the world through other people's eyes.